Hello, you are very welcome to this edition of the Under Center podcast. I'm your host, Darren Maher. Of course, I have a full house here with me tonight. I am delighted to be joined by Al, Reen, and Fionn. Lads, how are we doing?
Good. Really good. Thanks for having us, Al. Or Dara, Jesus.
Thanks for having me. I'm sure at this stage you're fine.
Just shows up at the last minute.
Thanks for having me on consecutively for the last 5 years. Not 5 years, sorry, 3 years even. 3, 2?
Feels like 5 years, Dara.
Yeah, that feels longer. But look, listen, we are through Wildcard Weekend in the NFL. We have our divisional round set up. A few surprising teams in there for sure. No less the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Lions facing off each other. And it's crazy that one of them is going to be in the NFC Championship game in 2 weeks' time.
It is. It's not something you might have predicted at the start of the season and then probably at the mid-season and then probably with 2 games to go either. But they all made it through. It's going to be quite interesting on the NFC side. I think it kind of highlights a little bit the quality skewness towards the AFC teams at the moment in the NFL.
Definitely. Al, you are obviously, well, actually, like all of us, we don't have a horse in the race in the playoffs. It's weird. Actually, it's something that we have to get used to because it's been a thing that's happened for the last few years.
Rain won't be in the playoffs for the next 20 years as a Panthers fan. This year.
Not until Tepper sells that team.
Yeah, don't jump the gun so much. Just because you got new owners and you got rid of your head coach doesn't mean that you're a search.
Oh yeah, look, we're a long way behind, but look, I get a lot of little pleasures from seeing the rest of the NFC East fall apart as soon as they even touch the playoffs. So
that was something.
You're just loving watching the Eagles collapse.
You know, the Eagles are whatever. It's the Cowboys I enjoy more than anything else. That no matter what, no matter how hyped they look, no matter how much in the midseason, I'm like, oh, damn, like this season they actually look good. They're playing well. They're leading the league in offense. It's like, oh, they get a nice draw for the playoffs and they just absolutely shit the bed, capitulate, just fall apart as soon as the word playoffs comes into the mouth of any commentator within about 100-mile radius.
I'm actually
we kind of predicted that as well, right? We looked at the red zone statistics from the Cowboys throughout the whole year, and they haven't been that great down there. And then against the Green Bay Packers, they did the exact same thing, moved the ball nicely between their own 20-yard line and midfield, and then stopped. They cannot drive the ball down the whole way down the field and put it in the end zone. That's their problem. And until they sort that out, and I think it's probably a case of getting rid of Dak. That's what they need to, that's the only way forward.
And your man...
Well, they were, in the regular season, they were one of the highest scoring teams in the league. But they just did it. They did in Miami. They did it against the poor teams. When they come up against the teams with winning records, they capitulated totally. But does this mean now the end of the line for? I know you talked about like Dak, but does it also mean the end of the line for McCarthy as well?
I think it has to, right? If you're a Cowboys coach, that's the nail in your coffin. We know how much Jerry Jones wants to win the playoff. We know the narrative every single year is, but the playoffs. And I don't think it's fair, but at the same time, he hasn't been there very long, but he came into a pretty good roster. They showed that they had enough talent on regular season over the course of what they did themselves. the kind of sputtering start that the Packers had. Like they were favored in pretty much every metric over this Packers team, and they couldn't get it done. I think at this level, when you're a ready-made playoff team, you can't. And as you come in as a coach, like you don't get the same leeway as say a Packers or a Texans, where they're building their way up, and yeah, if they go out in the next round, it's still a fantastic season for them. The Cowboys, it's like the season doesn't even start until that first playoff game, and if you lose the wildcard game, I think that's it. Your season's been a failure, and the coaching staff will suffer because of that. And I don't disagree. McCarthy hasn't been fantastic. He took over play calling and didn't, as Rian pointed out, it's not like they were totally unstoppable. The stats look really good, but red zone to red zone was a little bit tricky for them.
Mm-hmm. And on the opposite side of the ball, and Al, you'll be someone who'll be in the position to answer this question. On the other side of the ball, on defense, the most points given up by a Cowboy side in a playoff game. Dan Quinn's name has been mooted around for a lot of teams for head coaching vacancies. No less the Seahawks and the Panthers. And the Commanders have been. I know the Panthers and the Seahawks definitely have asked to interview him. I don't know if the Commanders have. But could he have done himself out of a possible head coaching job with this performance on Sunday?
No. He's gonna get a job somewhere. Most likely. You know, he might not get a head coaching job, but there's too many spots open. I think he'll get something. I mean, it's not his fault that, you know, you have Gilmore there just glazed over, not paying attention to what's fucking happening, letting his guy go, you know,
just
15 yards ahead
direction half the time.
Yeah, he's just not paying attention. He's just looking that way, and then, you know, I think it was Dobbs just goes, 15 yards for the easiest completion you'll ever see. You know, and it's stuff like that. You know, and then you have the likes of Deron Bland and what was the cornerback's name that got injured?
Trayvon
Diggs.
Yeah, they have a habit of getting these guys that can get you like, a million interceptions, but also give up a million yards. I wasn't convinced by this defense. Like they're good and they have good pieces, but a lot of it was hidden by the interceptions and Micah Parsons being an alien.
I think what's the commentator's name? Greg Jennings. Who he was tight end for you guys, Ryan. What's his name?
Greg Olsen.
Greg Olsen. I think he kind of nailed it within the first 10 minutes. He was like, just as the wheels started coming off in terms of the offensive side of the ball for the Packers, he said, "Oh, here we go. This is a huge test now for the Cowboys because they're so used to playing defense with a lead." And I think it's so true. Like they were just efficient enough on offense that it's way easier to play defense when the other team is the one who's stretching and trying to push themselves, and you got kind of a lot more pass looks. They can't really be patient on the ball when they're running the ball. Like Aaron Jones, they used him really well. Greg Olsen kept repeating, like, they're deliberately staying super balanced and they're throwing runs and passes out of identical looks. And it just showed that when the Cowboys defense got really tested, like they weren't with it. They weren't on their game, and they hadn't, I don't think, been pressured in that same way of like, oh shit, it's much easier to do tendency breakers when you've got the lead versus when you're playing from behind and you're trying to catch up. I think they benefited from that kind of illusion, a little bit like the Vikings a couple of years ago, that like kind of illusion of success that when you really dug down into it, they obviously weren't tested that much.
Yeah, very true. Before we move on, if you want to get your comments in, you can either comment on our Twitter at @UnderCenterPod, or if you go and watch us on YouTube, you can do it there. Make sure if you are watching us on YouTube, you are liking and subscribing to the channel too, because that helps us in the algorithm. We're also live on Instagram today as well. I can't get the comments up, but I am reading them here. First one from Mr. Sam Explains. My Super Bowl as an Eagles fan this year was watching the Pack tear the Cowboys apart. much like Fion's Super Bowl this year, was seeing both the Cowboys and Eagles getting torn apart for sure.
As an Eagles fan, it's a little bit worrisome that the Eagles hadn't even played their wildcard game yet, and he's already like, "Yeah, that's it. We've won the Super Bowl because the Cowboys got annihilated."
Probably more of a
He
hindsight
knew
thing.
it was going to happen.
Yeah,
He pre-lived the Super Bowl before all the games were finished, because after what happened on Monday, there was no that was the peak. There was no getting any higher after what happened on Monday. Al, I guess from our side of things, our Super Bowl was on the Sunday Night Football because the LA Rams were beaten by the Detroit Lions by a single point. Fiona's wagging his finger there. Why?
Yeah, because your Super Bowl is the 49ers winning the Super Bowl, and don't pick the easy team to be like, we get to hear the Lions losing. No, pal. Your good enemy is still in the game. Thanks very much. Like,
No.
Our Super Bowl is when the Ravens absolutely kick the piss out of the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
that's more Seahawks delusion right there.
yes,
like.
more Seahawks delusion. I think that's a very
Well, they've won it once already
considering
this
they
year.
did it
Why
in the
can't they do
regular
it again?
season?
Yeah.
The Ravens already killed the 49ers in the regular season. I don't see a rematch going any different.
Purdy's got even better since then.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Just like Sam.
You want to
Howell
talk
got
about
even better throughout
delusion?
the season, yeah.
He's managing the game on a different level.
Anyway, the Lions finally win a playoff game. First time, I think, was it 30 years? Over 30 years? In 92
More,
was the last
32.
91.
91. So the year,
Yeah.
the year I was born. I wasn't even born yet, actually, technically. Cool. Yeah. One
Technically,
single.
you were either not born or you were born. I don't know.
No,
Technically not born. Like 1 foot out the womb.
Technically,
Well,
I
the
was.
doctor took a look and was like, "Man,
I
come
was-
back in for
put it
another
back
I
one."
was
in.
probably about
Before.
60. If you see the loading bar, I was at about 60%. You know?
He's not ready yet.
Yeah. Just that not ready yet. Put it back in the oven. We're not done. But a really, really good first half of the game. A lot of points scored. 3 consecutive drives for the Lions. They scored a touchdown. The Rams did very well to get back into it in the second half, but unfortunately came up short. Obviously, the big contentious call is that third down play with Puka Nacua. You can choose whichever foul you want: pass interference, late hit, holding, whatever you want. You could have, but the refs didn't pick any of them, which I'm not too salty about, because all I'll say is just think back to the NFC Championship a couple of years ago against the Saints, where you clearly robbed the Saints of making it to the Super Bowl with that call. But anyway, Al, Lions progress. The Dan Campbell story rolls on again. Another fantastic win for this Lions team, and they are kind of, I guess, dreaming of a Super Bowl at the moment. Are they this year's Bengals, where they're going to be the team that no one expects to get to the Super Bowl, gets to the Super Bowl?
I don't know. I don't think so. They can. Like, they have good pieces there. They have a really good base, and Dan Campbell's a good coach, and they've been playing well as long as Jared Goff doesn't make an appearance. But I don't think so. I mean, it's pretty much guaranteed that it's going to be the 49ers. Whatever team, whether it's the Lions or the Bucks, the 49ers are going to win. Unless we see a collapse there, which I don't see. I don't think so, but it's not impossible. They're a fun team to root for.
What
the
I
most
think
part,
is weird. What I think is weird though is Jared Goff secretly like a playoff specialist, and I think it really throws into focus like the issue with Dak Prescott of like, you're like, yeah, but like it's the whole team and it's not always the quarterback, but like Jared Goff is Jared Goff, and I think he has now four playoff wins in his career. I don't know what Dak has. I think he only has 2, or maybe even only 1. Like, it just goes to show that like the playoff critique of Dak Prescott really is legit if Jared Goff is out here with like winning Super Bowls and having 4 playoff wins.
He's not winning Super Bowls.
Well,
that's
not winning
that's
Super
the
Bowl.
whole issue.
But maybe this
yeah,
year
look,
he is.
Not
Three
being
of
able to
those-
score any points in Super Bowls.
Yeah. 3 of those 4 playoff wins came with like basically a Madden Ultimate team, right? That Rams team that they went to the Super Bowl with, that was like a dream team. So I don't put a whole lot of heat into that. And going back to the question that Dara asked as to whether they might be the team who ends up in the Super Bowl that nobody expects, I think it should be a little bit rephrased and go, should we hope that they get to the Super Bowl? And I don't think we should, because if they do, they're going to be beaten badly by whoever's on the other side of that draw, because Jared Goff doesn't have the like star power to win a game of that caliber against a very, very good team. We've seen it before in the last Super Bowl he was in. So I would be rooting for either, I think the 49ers are going to put it up to whoever comes out of the AFC draw. And I think even the Packers might be able to put it up to them. I like how Jordan Love is playing at the moment. He's playing like solid football at the minute.
But see, the only reason why you're then saying that is because Jordan Love hasn't experienced the playoffs and hasn't been in the league long enough. He could do the very same thing
This is
as you're
true.
predicting Golf will do. But you only know that because obviously we have the sample size of Golf, but we don't have it with Love.
Yeah, true. Part of it is based on the fact that he came through that like Aaron Rodgers system. Aaron Rodgers obviously famously very good in the regular season and playoffs. So if you're going to have a mentor, he's the guy to have.
Well, he was like in the early 2000s and early 2010s, but not so.
True, actually. Yeah, he did fall off a
Before
lot.
he lost his mind and went off the
The ayahuasca hit
like
him.
all the way off.
Yeah, those darkness retreats got very dark, and he just has not been the same since. But yeah, but for the Rams, summing up their season, huge overachievement for them this year, you could say, because no one expected them to have a plus 500 record, let alone making it to the playoffs. So for a team that was meant to be in transition to make it to the playoffs and, go to within a point of making it to the divisional round, I think Rams fans should be very happy with how the season went.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy, for us as Seahawks fans to sit here and be like, oh, haha, the Rams lost. This is brilliant. But, like, seriously, fair play to them. They did really well this year. They got really good players out of the draft. Like, half their team is rookies. And they have them playing excellently. Their defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris, has done a fantastic job. And then getting guys like Puka Nacua, who is just, I mean, if it wasn't for CJ Stroud, he's offensive rookie of the year. I mean, fair play. Fair play to Sean McVay. Fair play to Raheem Morris. Fair play to all the guys. As much as it pains me to say it.
Do you think Stafford's the man, though? Is he going to become a limiting factor now as these rookies kind of progress the next year or two? Is his deficiencies going to become more evident? Or do you think as they even improve again that he's plenty good enough to go back to a Super Bowl?
I think that's a fair question because he's not getting any younger. He played very well this year when he wasn't expected to. And he could do exactly the same thing next year. But he could also not because he's old. In NFL terms, he's 90. He's on the floor.
I think the Rams are caught in, like, every year we see a couple of teams that are caught in this like no man's land of quarterbacks, whether it's you don't have one at all and there's no clear pathway to come out, or your guy's getting slightly old, kind of like the Vikings and Kirk Cousins, where you're like, he's not awful. He's definitely better than if we brought in a rookie, but is he going to be able to get us over the hump? Like, I think they're caught in the middle. I don't know what you do. You think stick with Stafford or get rid of him?
This is pure Stafford slander. The dude is one of the best around, right? The throws that he makes, he has had his injury issues. That's the only knock on him. But when he's healthy, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'm talking top 3. His arm talent is elite. He's the guy to go with if they can keep him healthy.
Yeah, I would disagree
agree with that.
But
yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, but we've seen how quick quarterbacks can fall off. And not because they're not good anymore, but because they're old and it happens. like that's what the NFL does,
I just had
When
an
you get
issue
older,
with
like,
like
there's-
lumping him in with Derek Carr and fucking Kirk Cousins.
No,
He's
that's
not
why I
that guy.
That's why I was legit asking the question, and as well, I do think there's a significant hangover from like, well, he was with the Lions, and the Lions never did anything since before Darrow was technically born, as we all know. So like,
Loading. I was loading.
so I do think I definitely still have that hangover of like, yeah, but they never did anything like when Megatron was there and all this stuff, and yeah, he throws with a dislocated arm and he's super tough, and like you say, he makes great throws. That I just thought it was a legit question. I think there's got to be fans out there, even for the Rams, who are like still not sure about Stafford going forward, whatever about what he's given before. I think now you're at the point of your career where you're not necessarily, you're kind of waiting now for the drop off to come, as opposed to going, Jesus, I can't wait to see what level he's going to get. But I think ultimately I agree with you. I think he has 2 or 3 or 4 more years before you really actually have to start worrying about, are we going to have to find a replacement for Stafford at the Rams?
Mm-hmm. And I think with Stafford, I think it's not crazy, but the upturn in fortunes for Stafford just this season alone, because at the start of the year we were, well, not all of us, but in NFL media circles, it was being well reported that the Rams were trying to trade him and trying to get him out of there and get draft compensation back. And then there was that story during the middle of the season where he said he was struggling to connect with these young wide receivers because, he's the old guy and these are all the new guys and he has no idea what they're into and stuff. And
I think that was more media, like weird media spin that wanted to try and kind of throw him under the bus. And I think as well, like, the trading rumors as well were also outspun. Like, we know the kind of contract Jenga that the Rams were playing. I'm sure that was part of just that, like, we're willing to look at and move any of our big contracts. And if we can keep them, we'll keep them. But if we have to, we'll move them. I think that was like more like, oh, they're shopping them. Like, they're trying to see what they can get from. Like, I think they were looking at all their big contracts and doing the same thing. Like, well, what do we get in return? Is the balance worth it if we have to offload all these lads?
Yeah, it's like,
if you're looking at the big contracts.
But no one's going to offer them a first round pick. But like, if someone offers you a first round pick for a 35-year-old quarterback, you're like, bye, Stafford. Thanks for everything.
Yeah. But if they were trading off all the big contracts, I would have put in a trade for Aaron Donald. I think he's still good enough to give him a first rounder for Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
And more,
maybe.
And more, probably. And more.
Although, just on my last point, I forgot the Jets did actually give a first-round pick and more for Aaron Rodgers, which is hilarious.
Wasn't it a second round, but it was a first round, a conditional first round if I think it was playing time and
right.
if he comes back.
Yeah, they got away with that one.
Yeah. So
you had to get like 90% play time or something.
Did they get away with that one? Like, Aaron Rodgers could still be good. I know he's gone off the deep end with his fucking brain, but he can still play football. I mean, he had a bad season with the Packers last season, right? But he was dealing with a thumb injury the entire way through the season. He looked very much not like his usual self. We see guys come back from injuries all the time. I reckon he could have been good for the Jets. Was he going to save that franchise? Absolutely fucking not. But I still think
definitely better than Wilson.
A good player.
Yeah. And we just got confirmation. Packers get a second round if Rodgers didn't make the playoffs with the Jets, which of course did not happen. So stays as a second. So
do you reckon the Packers started scouting that second pick after week 2 of the NFL? They were like, oh, there is no hope.
I think
we are
was,
guaranteed to get that second rounder.
Look, we could have a podcast of its own for like an hour and a half talking about the Jets and their mental decisions throughout the whole year of even just quarterback alone, deciding who they want to go with and who they don't want to go with. But look, we'll move on and let's go back to Saturday's games. And probably, well, no, it's not the biggest surprise. Maybe the scoreline was the biggest surprise. The Texans beating the Browns 45 points to 14. Smoking Joe throws the 2 picks. He forgot who he was playing for the second quarter, so he was just throwing it to anybody who put their hands up asking for the ball. CJ Stroud is showing that he is absolutely the rookie of the year.
He's the
Unreal.
He's the MVP. He is
If it
the
was a
MVP.
real
He's not.
award,
Lamar's the MVP.
If it's a real award,
Lamar's the clear
he-
MVP.
Let's be
more
let's be
important.
real about
Lamar is to the Ravens. Fine.
yeah, like let's be real about like who's actually going to get the awards. Like we talk every
That's-
year about like who should get the awards, but who actually gets the awards is the shiny quarterback. It's going to be Lamar. Who actually deserves it? I don't know. There's several players I think deserve it, and several non-quarterback players. But the MVP is going to Lamar, and that's just the way it works because the voting is broken.
Yeah, and I honestly I agree that with Dara's comment there. I think it's CMC or Stroud are the real MVPs, but then it's always goes to the winningest quarterback who played pretty well that season, and so that's
like
clearly
most
Lamar
likely
Jackson,
when
without a doubt,
the
so.
Ravens win the Super Bowl, like it's Lamar's. It's Lamar's already, but
Imagine they give it to Lamar, and then in the Super Bowl, CMC has 3 touchdowns from scrimmage, 200 yards, and Lamar has like 4 fumbles and 3 interceptions. That'd be a real slap in the face up.
It would be insane if he got the special hat trick that he's gotten twice in his career now, where he runs for 1, passes for 1, and receives 1. That would be unbelievable.
And then, as the Purdy slanderists would say, he somehow manages to game manage about 50 points for the 49ers.
Look,
But it's all in the it's all
Purdy's
the
a good
system.
quarterback.
Exactly.
Purdy's
He
a good
makes some
quarterback.
great throws.
But
I'm not saying anyone here is
also-
Purdy slander, but there's so much Purdy slander out there of being like,
He's
man is trash. All he does is give the
on
ball to good
one
players.
of the most stacked teams in the NFL. Like the
There's
49ers
Dara. Look,
roster
that's
is
exactly what I'm talking about. Yak Purdy.
Purdy.
But man, he gets it to them every time in space for them to get the yaks. Like, look at hell. He
the
was
thing
throwing dimes,
is,
and then
you
they were
can
getting
talk
tackled
about
within
Yak
4
Purdy, but he's top 3, like in 2023, in average depth of target. So, like,
He was
you
slinging.
can't call him Yak Purdy when he is throwing the ball deeper than 95% of the quarterbacks in the league on average. He doesn't throw super deep, but like,
well, look,
one of those
if
Wilson
you have
Jordan
players
Love.
like Brandon Ayuk and Debo Samuel, who
totally.
yak yards are
That's the other half of it.
unbelievable.
Like, that's what I'm saying is their roster is stacked.
Mm.
Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, and then that offensive line has been really good with Trent Williams, who is, there's another guy who should be in the talks for MVP. He has been as consistent as anyone in league history, and that's not an exaggeration.
I don't know. Larry Tunsil also was unreal
Absolutely.
as a lineman this season. Ryan's shaking his head.
I don't like Larry
Miles
Tunsil.
Garrett for an hour.
Right, okay, he did, and he is excellent,
Twice.
but he is also one of the most penalized players in the league.
Oh,
He
that's true.
doesn't understand what a snap count is. Just fucking learn the snap count.
No. That's Juwan Taylor you're thinking of.
I'm
Who
telling you,
has a false
2
start
years in
every
a
single
row,
game. At least
2
one.
years in a row, Laramie Tunsil was the most penalized player in the league. Not this year.
Oh, really?
He did sure up this year, but the 2 years previously, he was the most penalized player in the league.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, well, to be fair, he had players like Davis Mills as a quarterback as well. He probably didn't even know the cadence himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Davis Mills now has a playoff win, technically, because he came in and mopped up at the end of that game.
By the way, like
1 for 1, 6
that's
yards.
that is crazy as well. That in the Texans game, the Packers game, and I think was it just those 2 games, or was it in the Bucs game as well, that the backups came in a playoff game because the teams were so far ahead.
There was only
I-
the Rams game was competitive, and I didn't even see it. I don't know what the
Yeah.
score, how the score went, but all the rest of the games were blowouts.
Yeah, when you're that far ahead, just like, if there's a chance that the other team is going to get
I'm not
in,
saying-
when you're
I'm
30
not-
points ahead, it's just like, throw whoever in, rest everyone else. It's fine.
But like, I'm not saying that like, oh, you shouldn't put the backups or the rookies in. I'm just saying that these games are so uncompetitive
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
that this happened. It just doesn't shine a great light on having this wild card weekend or having these 7 seeds making it into the playoffs.
But
Even though it was the Packers who are 7 seeds who won
Yeah,
and
they
beat the
upset.
Cowboys. But then was it the Steelers or the
last
7
time-
seeds on the AFC side, wasn't it?
Yeah, the last time
And-
the Packers
but
won
the
the
Bucs-
Super Bowl, they were the 7th seed. So
Yeah.
Well, they were the
Okay,
6th
I'm
seed,
kind of
but-
kind of contradicting my my own point there. All right.
Yeah. I mean, the
But
Bucs,
anyway-
the Bucs were 6th seed as well. They upset the Eagles.
Let's have a little chat. Bucs weren't 7 seeds
Bucs were 6th seed, weren't they?
this year. No.
Oh no, sorry, 4th technically because of the fucking.
Yeah, they won the NFC
Because they
South.
won.
Yeah. The good
Anyway,
old NFC South.
Let's
gonna-
move
if
on.
they
And
go
let's
to the
actually
Super
talk
Bowl
about
for-
the Bucs. Go on.
I have a hot take on this one.
Okay, go on.
Go.
Baker Mayfield is comeback player of the year.
If this
Oh,
wasn't
that's
Damar
what-
Hamlin's
that's-
year, I'd agree with you.
No, Damar Hamlin had 2 tackles. He's a bum. He didn't even play this year, basically. All
Yeah,
he
Mar-
did-
Okay,
doesn't
look,
matter.
give it
Look,
to-
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
he
It
died.
100% does
Damar
matter.
Hamlin
It
died.
matters.
He
How did
might
he
well be
come back
sitting in
player
the
of the year?
stands.
He
Doesn't-
barely
doesn't
fucking
matter.
came back.
He didn't come back. Yeah, he literally just like
Nah,
walked
you
it, put his boots
Like
on.
I don't
Cool.
feel that strongly about it, but like Damar Hamlin died.
Yeah.
To come
Baker
back and
Mayfield
even
was
play
playing
snap.
defensive line on the Panthers scout squad, and now he's gonna go to the Super Bowl. That's the
See,
comeback player of the year. Not
I
some lad
agree
who
with
fell
you.
over and then got back up again and did
He
nothing
didn't
after.
fall over and get back up again. Come on, Fionn.
It's a bit reductionist, but ultimately that's what we're saying. He didn't play football again, that's for sure.
It's
No,
a
look,
bit-
Comeback
I
counted
agree
for
with
the
you.
year, maybe.
I agree with you, but the NFL loves those type of stories.
Oh
You know?
yeah. Oh look, again, we're
Mhm.
only having a bit of fun here, and
Yeah.
it's as redundant as the MVP talk is. Damar Hamlin is getting that comeback player of the year award. And probably
yeah.
fine, whatever. He survived a heart attack or whatever he did, right? But let's be honest, Baker Mayfield gritted it out for a full season.
Can
Damar
we just-
Hamlin was on the
Can
ground.
Can I
for
just
20
really quickly
minutes.
point out that Dave Canales was the quarterback coach in Seattle in Gino's
Don't try and get
good
Dave
year
Canales
last
the
year,
job.
and then now he's the offensive coordinator for the Bucs, and he has Baker playing really well.
Al will just
Is
name
he a
drop
quarterback
anybody
whisperer?
ever related to the Seahawks organization at any point. He said into our group chat the other week that got me and Rain all excited. He was like, we've got
Yeah,
interviews
yeah, I
organized.
was,
We thought it was lads asking to come on the show. He was like, no, the Seahawks are interviewing 2 lads I never heard of for head coach.
Yeah, I should have clarified. I sent it, and I was like, yeah, I should have probably said Seahawks in that sentence, and then you had
Yeah,
already
that was
typed it out.
the-
So I was like, all right, yeah,
That
you
was a
got me on
pretty
that
fun
one.
one. Yeah.
I'll
I
whip
think
out a
Al knew
stat line.
exactly what he was doing.
I'll whip out a stat.
Speaking
Like
of
the
interview-
Seahawks are 10-0 when Waterboy Des Whelan is in the house. You know, fucking outrageous. Depth
Hey,
of knowledge,
don't
but
you-
also who gives
I
a
like-
shit?
I like
Don't you speak shit about this.
like-
He's worked hard for that position, right?
I like stupid, meaningless stat lines. I love them.
That's fair.
He'd be like, we've got an interview with Steve Stankovic, and we'd be like, who's that, Al? He's like, oh, well, he's been the offensive special teams coordinator for the Buccaneers for the last 3 years. And we'd be like, whoa, yeah, sounds like he's exactly the man you need in there.
Well, there are 2 I am actually excited about: Ejiro Evero and
Who is he?
Ben Johnson.
Am I,
He's-
Panthers.
am I the only one who
Panthers
doesn't-
defensive coach.
Yeah, but like the
that's who you
Panthers
need, the
roster
defense
is a
of
big
the
pile of
Pats.
shit, so he can't do much there.
Yeah, well, he didn't
Yeah,
make
He
the
can't
but-
polish a poop.
Al.
He was that wasn't. No, he wasn't actually. I was gonna say something else, but
Mike-
He
I'm
was,
Mike,
sorry,
he was
he
the
was the-
defensive coordinator for Denver when they had
Yeah.
their best defense last
It
season.
was last year, last season. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. First season of Russ.
Just while we're
Speaking
on
of
the
which, I can't wait
Giro-
for Russ to show up in Washington. That's going to be great.
Russ and Belichick.
And Pete
package
Carroll.
deal. And we're going to give away
And Pete
first
Carroll.
round picks to them all.
Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson reunion
No.
in Washington.
Pete Carroll is going to David Tepper the Seahawks and basically ghost head coach. Whoever comes in is just a puppet of Pete Carroll because he's still basically the GM.
That whole thing where he's going to stay on as an advisor.
That's dubious as fuck.
Jody just didn't want to say they fired him. Because even in his press
that's the thing.
conference, they were like,
Yeah.
what is in what capacity are you staying on? Like with the Seahawks, it's like, I don't know, we're going to talk about it. So
because he has
obviously not.
Because he has dementia, he doesn't know how to leave the building. He's got all turned around. He doesn't know where he's going anymore. Ryan, what were you going to say? You were going to talk about the Panthers.
Yeah, well,
John
on
Schneider
the
should have just
Giro
got
of
the ball.
Vero.
Yeah.
On
John
the
Schneider should have
Giro
just had the
of
ball
Vero.
square.
Let the man speak. He's spitting
No.
fire here. Dave
No.
Shapiro or whatever he's saying about Ben
Anyway.
I just want to see how many. Say it 5 times quick now. See if you can still say.
A Giro of Vero was credited by some Panthers fan accounts as having the second best pass defense out of any team in the NFC. But that is such a bollock stat because there's only 3 quarters worth of data every single game because they're never in it in the fourth quarter. The other team just runs the football for the whole fourth quarter. It's a
Just
bullshit
kicks it
stat.
out.
It's hard for Evero to do anything in fairness because that Panthers roster is a big pile of shit.
Thankfully, we have the number 1 overall pick to fix it.
That's some pick.
Do you really want Caleb Williams though?
No.
No, they're going to pick JJ McCarthy.
I wouldn't want Caleb Williams as my quarterback either.
I'd take Penix or I'd take Cade May, or not Cade May, fucking Drake May. Cade May already plays for the Panthers, but yeah, not Williams. No way.
Yeah. Anyway, let's we've put it off for long enough. I don't know why we have, but let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles getting spanked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 32 points to 9. Couldn't have happened to a nicer set of fans for them to lose in that way. They've just been so spoiled over the last 2 years, and now something goes wrong and they're completely all losing their minds. Somebody threw popcorn at fucking Nick Sirianni as he was leaving the field last night. Like, come on, get over it. Now, it's been a tough year, I understand, because look, you lose your 2 main coordinators in one off season is going to be tough. But teams are able to have down years. Yous aren't this dynasty franchise that has earned the right to be at every Super Bowl. You know, you had a good year last year. You went to the Super Bowl, you fucked it up, and now you have to go again. So just, get your big boy pants on and just get over it and be like every other team in the league.
So
Come join us down here in the goal room.
The main
like
reason
the Pats of old. Welcome.
The main
to
reason
fresh
for
era,
them
lads.
sucking some off in the last, you can look at you can look at when they started sucking and when they demoted Sean Desai and promoted Matt Patricia. Pretty much lines up. So fuck the Eagles for that.
First thing he does, Dara, is bring back the racist name because back in my day we used to call them the Reddies.
Sorry, Al, we were really just going against your
As
point
soon as
there.
Al said some phrase like sucking them off or something like that, we all just
Yeah, it just came out. I heard it and I was like, that was kind of weird, but whatever, I'll go with it.
It threw everybody off,
The Eagles
including
deserve it
Al.
though. What were they thinking?
Viewers just went
Patricia. What were they thinking with Patricia? Come on, and if you want to even look at the stats, statistically, they got noticeably worse in almost every defensive category after Patricia took over. Why? After everything we've seen from Patricia, after all the players from the Lions coming out saying they hate his guts because he's an asshole. Like, come on. What were they thinking? Sirianni has to go.
Sorry, what seed were the Hawks? Yeah, the Hawks didn't make the playoffs this year. But
Al, don't you owe
Hawks,
me?
Darren.
the Hawks also have
beer
the
for
same
that?
number of Super Bowls as the Eagles have. So,
Don't you,
all right.
Al? Don't you owe me a pitcher of beers for that? Wasn't our thing if that neither the Seahawks?
Didn't we agree that neither of us win because we
That's true. Yeah, we
both
both
lost?
Yeah, both awful, but still, that is true. Dara's comment that the secondary can't tackle. Man, the amount of clips I didn't get to watch the game, but the amount of clips that showed up on my Instagram feed, they're just like lads just waving hands at wide receivers as well. It's not even like it's a running back out in the backfield and you're making business decisions. It's like little guys just flapping at them.
Yeah, no, it was bad. It was very bad. All of it was. And
yeah, I'm not an Eagles fan.
James Bradbury as well. Was he like $30 million a year as well? He's after getting that.
God,
Yeah, he got torched. He got absolutely roasted.
Did you see the clip though of the Manning cast last night? Ray Lewis was on it, and he was going absolutely berserk at the Eagles defense for it just being just so bad.
I mean, the tackling's been a bit dodgy for a while. We've been saying it like it's all for show, like these huge hits. And as fans, we obviously love them, but as players, we're like, why aren't they teaching just like body on a body, wrap your arms, drag them down, even if you lose an extra yard or two? Like, first of all, safety, Reen, you said it in the chat as well over the week. Like, who was it that nearly got their knee absolutely decapitated because they were like speared? Yeah, like Higbee. And you're going like, is that really necessary? Like, wrap him. Yeah, he's a big guy, but like that doesn't mean you can just go around, for instance, spearing him in the head. So why can you go around spear him in the knee just because you need to get him on the ground?
He hadn't, like, he was in the process of catching the ball. He hadn't lowered his shoulder at him. That's just because you're scared of tackling. And I don't know what to say. Don't play defense, I guess, like in the NFL.
Yeah.
Grow up and make a tackle. You're getting paid millions to do that shit.
As well, like people are talking about like how the size difference, right? Tyler Higbee's obviously a big guy.
I would like to introduce
down.
you to Earl Thomas, absolutely fucking destroying Rob Gronkowski. Like, It doesn't matter. Gronkowski had 60 pounds on Earl Thomas and he stopped him dead. Just make it.
My point is, even if you can't stop him with momentum, there's an awful lot of room between hips and knee that you can hit that's going to make him fall over because it's below his center of gravity without having to spear him in the knees. That sort of tackle should be outlawed straight away.
Yeah. And same thing happened with Chubb. Just could have wrapped him, but no, just decided to go for his knee and be like, oh, well, rules.
It was in the pile, what you expect.
And it's like, no, you can just literally hit him in the fucking chest, like.
I'd rather see them ban that tackle than, because they're probably going to make laws now in the off season to ban the tush
hip
push
drop,
and maybe the hip drop as well. But like, just ban those knee blasters. Like that'd save so many injuries right there.
I have no issue with the tush push. It's fine, whatever. And like,
I think the Bucks kind of showed
what is a hip drop tackle.
The Bucks figured out how to stop it there for that.
Define a hip drop tackle, because loads of people saying what a hip drop tackle is literally just someone tackling from behind. So then what do you do? If you can't tackle from behind because it's called a hip drop tackle, then.
But look,
there's nuance.
Look, you've also got to understand that. Look, this is a physical game that you can get hurt in. You tackle people,
eliminate
to stop them.
Injuries, so stop trying.
Exactly. Look, they've done the right things, the league, in terms of trying to limit head injuries, which is the important thing. Yeah. But like knee injuries, ankle injuries, leg injuries, like wrist injuries, whatever. These happen in the game.
One thing I don't like this year, that the NFL has been doing, is and it's straight up wage theft, is fining players like 30-40 grand, like, for lowering into contact. Like, what? Like incidental helmet contact, and they're fucking what do you expect a running back to do? Just like, run straight up and just get fucking speared every time? Like, that's not the way it works.
And the worst part is this is coming after replay reviews. Do you know what I mean? Whatever about the ref at the time might see like a head jerk back and call a flag, but these fines are coming in a week after the game where they've clearly reviewed it. They can be much more lenient and decide like what's forceful contact, what's not forceful contact, what's because of poor technique, and as you said, what's incidental contact of two face guards put together when two lads try and block each other. Like, seems a bit rough to me. I agree with y'all.
Yeah. But look, listen, if people are that upset about getting hurt, just go play flag then. Fuck it.
But you see, the offensive players are defenseless. Do you know what I mean? They just have to sit there and watch the missile come at their knees. So, like, I get it. You're going to get hurt and rolling on the ground and say a hip drop tackle, I can see. But like this firing yourself at people's knees is it's just not even. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're doing it to avoid yourself getting hurt and to increase the chances of the guy you're tackling to get hurt. But that's not in the spirit of football either.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And look, listen, if you need a reason why like certain tackles have to be banned and stuff like that, just look at the amount of QBs that went down this year and the amount of shy backup QB play we've had to see because of it. So if you ever get upset with a soft roughing the passer call, just have a look at this season and all the different starting QBs because of injury. Now, obviously, not every QB injury was down to a bad tackle, but listen, it just lessens the risk and keeps the quality of the product high.
You know what this should teach teams? Invest in your offensive line, please.
Yes.
First and foremost.
You can run the ball, you protect your quarterback, you get better stats, you can do a push. Yeah. Like, there's so many advantages of them contracts are the ones that are going to start getting expensive next.
Well, they already have like your tackles, like they're already in your 20-30 million range. So,
but it actually, you just remind me of that clip from Hard Knocks. I think it was the year that they did the Browns, and they were obviously doing, I think, like box work and stuff like that, and the defensive lineman got through and I think tapped or grabbed the quarterback, and then the offensive coordinator was going mad saying, don't touch my quarterback, and then I think it was Greg Williams was the defensive coordinator, and he just says, well, block him, block the guy. Like, don't get mad at me because my guy did his job. Get mad at your O-line because he couldn't block the guy. Simple as. But before we end the show, I feel we probably should talk about the fact that it looks like Jason Kelce is going to retire. Looks like last night was his last game
waste
in the NFL. It is a waste, but a fantastic career. Especially in the last couple of years, he got a light shined on him that most centers don't in terms of media attention. Obviously, being the brother, having a brother in the NFL too, and then having your own podcast, very successful podcast.
Swift's boyfriend?
Yeah, the one that the lad that she hangs out with in the leather pants.
I saw he caught a pass actually there this weekend. That was nice. And she
did he?
Yeah.
That's nice. To give him the ball.
What's his name?
I don't remember. What? It's your man,
Trevor.
Trevor, is it? Trevor
Kelce.
Trevor Kelce.
He was on a TV show back in the day.
Yeah, he was on it. Wasn't he on some dating show a while ago?
It was
like The Bachelor, but Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce has some amazing old tweets, by the way. Just nonsensical horse shit. It's amazing.
Yeah, but fantastic career though for Jason. And it is a shame that it looks like it's going to end this way. Like, I don't know what's worse, to end it in the playoffs or to end it like if he did last year, losing a Super Bowl. They are both pretty shitty ways to go, but it was going to be either last year or this year. I don't know which one you'd rather go out on.
You take a chance and then you go, right, I'm seeing the downward slope, as opposed to if you go out in the Super Bowl, you go, well, theoretically, you've got a chance to get back to the Super Bowl. I don't think now they feel the same chances there for next season.
Yeah,
no,
and
I think
if you watched, I don't know if anyone watched that Kelce thing, He was just complaining that he's constantly in pain. Like
Yeah.
every hour of every day, he's in pain because of the training and the games, and he's always on so many drugs. So he was just like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Yeah. It looks like he's going to earn a lot more money now as well, because he's going to become an analyst. The guy knows how to talk, and it's crazy seeing the amount of money that analysts are making more than players in the NFL. That needs to
When
be
you have
looked at.
guys like Colin Cowherd making like, I think he makes $9 million. I mean, and then McAfee.
And he's
Brady's going to earn more than he earned in his whole playing career to talk for Fox.
Oh yeah,
if that contract gets out.
And he doesn't even have to talk much. He just has to sit there and be Tom Brady.
Just to get him absolutely steamed like he was at the Super Bowl parade. That's the best version of Tom Brady.
Yeah. But hey, look, we got some interview requests there over the last hour, actually, while we're doing the show.
The Seahawks, I'm assuming.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Bobby Slowick.
I saw what you were doing there.
Yeah. Anyway, lads, I think that's a good place to wrap up this edition of the show. Thank you, everyone that has tuned in this evening, whether it's been on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. If you've missed any part of the show, it will be up as a audio podcast for you to listen back to. Just search Under Center Podcast wherever you get your podcasts to find us there. Rian, Al, Fionn, thank you so much.
Pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And until next time, stay safe, and we will see you soon.